Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I think we're ready to get started. The candidates look excited and ready to go. I guess we'll just put out a PSA to silence your cell phones and so we can run through this uninterrupted and hear what everybody has to say. So, good evening and welcome to the 2025 Mason City Schools Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is David Yost. I currently sit as the board chair of the Maid Chamber, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator tonight. On behalf of the Mason-Deerfield Chamber, I'd like to thank Mason City Schools for hosting us, ICRC-TV for filming and broadcasting this live event on Facebook. We'll have playback details available on the Chamber's website and social media after the event. So, this forum is designed to help voters evaluate candidates on three essential dimensions. First, their understanding of the policy setting and oversight role of the board, as defined by Mason City Schools and the Ohio Schools Boards Association. Two, their responsiveness to top concerns of Mason's business community, as identified in our 2025 annual business survey. And lastly, their ability to engage in civil discourse, collaborate with stakeholders, and represent diverse perspectives. Board members do not manage daily operations or implement curriculum. Instead, they set district policy, approve budgets, and ensure the district is well managed by professional administrators. The questions tonight will reflect these responsibilities and the issues our business community cares most about, from workforce readiness and growth planning to fiscal accountability. Tonight we welcome our 5 candidates for Mason City Schools Board of Education. We actually welcome 4. One could not make it. Wendy Spatz is not here tonight, but we welcome Dave Charpentier, Charles Galvin, Ian Orr, and Danny Timmets. Thank you all for being here and your willingness to serve. On a personal note, my family's been in this community for 80 years. To say that we've seen a change in our city and school system is a wild understatement. And in many respects, it's thanks to past and present board members that have served over the years that we've grown our schools deliberately, intentionally, and skillfully. And we're excited to see where we go in the future, and we thank you. As a reminder, voters will have up to 3 candidates to select in the race on November 4th. And if you need additional information on each candidate, you can find it at maidchamber.org. So we're going to get started. So the basic format will be, we'll have opening statements, 5 questions, and then closing statements. After each question, you'll have an opportunity for either a 30-second rebuttal, or frankly, just more time to talk if you didn't finish. Okay, use it to your advantage. And in a couple questions, instead of a rebuttal, we'll just have a follow-up question. Okay? The order is, I will announce the order before each question, okay, because it has been randomly generated by artificial intelligence as to show no partiality whatsoever. Okay? So, our opening statements, we will actually go by alphabetical order by last name. So it'll be David, then Charles, then Ian, then Danny. You'll have 60 seconds for your opening statement. David, if you'd like to lead us off.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for those of you who are tuning in live and anybody who watches this on a recording. Thanks, David, for being our moderator in the Maid Chamber for hosting this. And just a quick personal thing, it's senior night for my daughter who's playing soccer, and I'm super excited, but might have to duck out a little early, so just a heads up, I might be bolting because I'm not going to miss walking across the field with my girl and our family. So, yeah, a little bit about me. My wife and our 4 kids moved here 19 years ago. This has been an amazing place for us to be. I grew up in Minnesota, attended and graduated from public schools. After college, I served as a Ranger Qualified Army officer. After leaving the service, I served both in sales and operational leadership roles in Fortune 500 companies. I've been a stay-at-home parent. I've taught yoga. I have been a consultant for the past number of years as an executive coach and a business consultant, and I really look forward to an opportunity over the next hour or how much time I have for you to get to know me better and earn your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Charles?
Well, thank you again for everybody who made the time to come out tonight, as well as those who are watching online live. My name's Charles Galvin. I've been on the school board for 8 years. I'm seeking a third term. I've been the president for 4 of the past 6 years before getting to hand the baton off to our current president, Ian Orr. I grew up in Westchester, Ohio, not far from here, and over the course of my time living in the region, I have driven along Tylersville Road back and forth and watched things like the Weatherington subdivision, the Meyer, the Dudley's Dented Silo Pub, different developments, things like that along the way, and watched this region blossom and explode. When the Mason Community Center and High School were built in 2003, our family joined the community center, and I aspired to live here one day. And as soon as I graduated law school from Notre Dame, while we moved back to Westchester initially, we eventually put down roots in Mason. So looking forward to getting to know everybody tonight, and hope to earn your vote.
Ian?
Well, you guys are going to get thanked a lot tonight to start. So thank you, David. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Maid Chamber. My name is Ian Orr, and I'm your current Mason City Schools Board of Education president. My wife, Jessica, and I have 4 kids. 3 have graduated. So K through 12 through Mason City Schools, we have a current sophomore. An interesting anecdote about my life. When I married my wife in 2007, I wanted her to come and move to the city of Cincinnati with me, and she was adamant about staying in Mason for this school district. And this school district has afforded my family so much and prepared my children so very well that it is with great humility and pride that I get to sit here and serve and give something back to a institution that has done so much for my family. Professionally, I am a property casualty underwriting manager for a Fortune 200 company. And so my focus is on our finances and protecting what this great community and several boards previous to this one have built so that we can move Mason quality deep into the future and be a model school district for the state of Ohio. I hope to earn your vote now and on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Well, first of all, thank you, of course. Thank you for everyone that's watching. Thank you to the Maid Chamber for hosting. I am absolutely honored to be here, and I am so grateful for this opportunity for you all to get to know me and to learn a little bit more about my story. My name is Danny Timmets. I am a wife of a comet. Nick and I have been married for almost 20 years. We've been living in Mason for 12 of those years. I'm the mom of 2 comets. My daughters are, I have a junior and a freshman at the high school, which is putting me into a whole different category of parenting at this point. I'm a 24-year educator. I started my career knowing I wanted to be a teacher. I went to college knowing I wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher, so I grew up with the front row seat of what an education lifestyle looks like. I taught for 10 years at Cincinnati Public, down in San Antonio, Texas, and then when I came back to this area in Mount Healthy City Schools. For the last 14 years, I've been working for a nonprofit educational technology company called Learn 21, doing educational consulting, instructional design, and technology support. I hope to earn your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will start with our first question. The order of response will be, we'll start with Ian, move to Charles, then Danny, and then David. Our business community has voiced strong interest in preparing students for life after graduation, whether through college, career, or technical pathways. While the board doesn't run programs directly, it can set policy that encourages partnerships and experiential learning. How would you support policies that strengthen career readiness, experiential learning, and partnerships with local businesses to prepare students for life after graduation? Ian?
Well, thank you for that question. And when I saw it on the sheet, I got excited because we are leading in this district on that area. Our experiential learning program headed up by Joe Schroeder has begun to build amazing relationships with not only our local businesses, but businesses around the city. Charles and I got to go up to the OSBA conference and watch these wonderful young people present their program and see the response around the state, and their overwhelming response is, how do we get this in our district? So, we are very fortunate to have that, but that is because of the vision that we had, is that each and every Comet should discover purpose here and uncover their potential. And so it's in keeping with who we are. I think when I think of policies, we have one with the Oaks program, and we need to continue to see. The only limiting factor is that students don't want to go off-site because this campus is so wonderful. So how can we partner with the Oaks to bring some of their programs back inside our building to deliver Mason quality, but with a career readiness twist on it?
Thank you, Ian. Charles?
So I'm going to retweet everything Ian said, and then add to that that the experiential learning program that we have here, as Ian said, it's leading the way. We owe a lot of credit to that to Joe Schroeder, but also Debbie Gentine was somebody who brought that to life. And when I first started on the board, was one of the first people that reached out to me, invited me into a Careers in the Law Day. That was fun to kind of see how it has taken off since then, and watching the students that we have take ownership of this program, scale it out so that there are thousands, literally thousands of touch points with employers in our region, whether it's Kings Island, whether it's Vega, whether it's some of our other manufacturing businesses. I also want to give credit to Mr. Charpentier here, maybe steal a little bit of his thunder, but recognize that the partnership that we have with the MADE Manufacturing Hub, Bob Leslie, co-founder of that, with Rick Boyle and Creative Contracting, just making it so that we can empower our students to, as Ian said, find their potential, run with these projects. They have so much energy and vision, and then also just creating an environment that businesses feel free to collaborate with us as a district.
Thank you. Danny?
I'll echo what they said about the robust work experiential learning program that's here at the high school. It blows me away. I think back to my teaching days when I taught at Mount Healthy. I was the career education coordinator, and what that meant was once a year I built a career day for our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, and it was what you picture. Teacher, the students come in, they learn about a job, and to see what this experiential learning and what these opportunities are for our students here in Mason, kind of that times 1,000, is so incredible to me. I work day to day with a lot of career technical or districts. So I work with Great Oaks. I work with some of the career techs up north. And one of the things I do wonder is, much like them, how do we bring some of the things like the work-based learning and the credentialing that is so important in those areas to our students here, because they don't want to leave campus, but they do want these opportunities. And I think it's important when they're in this space to be able to explore those opportunities. So when they leave our halls, they know what they want to do, what they don't want to do, but they've had an opportunity to try it.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, Charles did steal a little of my thunder. It really was, it's been an amazing thing to be a part of the XLP. I've been a guest speaker at times, just talking more around the human skills and components. But Joe Schroeder and I had a conversation, and the work I do at the manufacturing hub, there was space, and we wanted to create some education. And we had 20 students graduate from a skilled trades workshop where for 10 weeks, they learned basics of carpentry and electric and plumbing and roofing, and got to build furniture for a nonprofit. And watching those kids learn how to use a tape measure, some of them for the first time, and seeing 5 of those students enter into an apprenticeship program or go right into the workforce was really powerful. I'm excited because we're expanding the program this year by about 33%, and we're adding a welding component. And I know with talking with some of the folks in the XLP, working to find those policies and ways to bring that and the credentialed programs to even co-located spaces or near location spaces to our high school, I think will really benefit our students outside of some of those 80% college track students that we have here in the district.
Thank you. All right, so in the same order, if you guys would like to add on, or it seems like you all agree, but draw out your answer further, you're welcome to do that. Ian?
I think when you hear what we're doing and you say, well, where can it go, or what's the investment, what that looks like is intentional focus on personalization, right? So asking the students what they'd like to do and making sure that our resources are directed in that direction. So this isn't something that we foist upon our students. As David said, we've got about 86% of our students that go on to some sort of higher education post-graduation, but making sure that those opportunities are aligned with what our students want to do, such as bringing a cybersecurity certification. We approved that, I think that was last year, and things like that. So,
Thank you. Charles?
I think that the policies that we have in place are clearly doing a great job, and letting those policies kind of bear fruit has been really fun to see while we've been on the board. I would just put a plug in at this point to encourage anybody who's got a business that they think would be amenable to job shadowing. I'm fortunate enough next week during one of the days off that we have here, I'm going to be hosting a few students through the XLP program at our office in Westchester to job shadow what it's like to be a lawyer. I hope they still stay interested in the law once they sit through a couple hours over there, but there's so many interests and diverse opportunities for our kids. I wouldn't want them to be anywhere else.
Danny?
I just want to say that I think the value that this and previous boards has put on student voice is shown here. And I think when I come onto the board, I will do nothing less than elevate that voice, because I think that's how we get these amazing programs, is we're listening to the students, we're paying attention to what their needs are, where they're going, and we're actually putting policy in place to support that.
And David?
I'm all right. Thanks, David.
All right. Second question. The order will be, we will start with Charles, move over to David, then Ian, and Danny. Okay? Mason continues to grow, and with that comes pressure on school facilities and long-term planning. The board does not manage construction, but it does approve facility plans and policies that respond to enrollment trends and development. How should the district respond to Mason's residential growth and development pressures to ensure school facilities remain safe, accessible, and appropriately scaled? Start with Charles.
So, despite what you see around you with houses and apartments and things popping up, our district enrollment has actually been very steady throughout the course of my time on the board, and is projected to remain very steady. Part of that is because either by surprise or by intention, a lot of families, a lot of parents of graduated Comets are choosing to stay here and remain here. And I think that is a testament to the long-term planning and the value that not just the school board, but other elected officials in the region have brought to this area. We know that Ohio's property tax values are a hot button issue right now. So we're grateful that we have a community that folks have been able to remain in and stay in for longer term. But over the course of the time I've been on the board, I've been fortunate to walk into a board in a district that long-term planning's been part of the DNA. We've executed on our master facilities plan over the last several years. We did a big renovation at our middle school. We've got other projects in some of our other buildings, and we've been able to fund that from the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission without coming to the community and asking for additional tax dollars, which, as some of you might know, is not the case among some of our neighboring districts. So we're very appreciative and fortunate for that.
David?
Yeah, we really do have a flat enrollment, and that's what projections say, maybe even a slight downturn. I do think we need to tip our cap to previous boards who made a strategic decision on our footprint. Instead of going with the typical kind of neighborhood consolidated and created these campuses that have set us up for decades. Doesn't mean we won't have to do some renovation like we did in the middle school, but I think we are set for decades to be able to continue to educate in quality facilities the next generation of Comets. And I think there are things like what happened at MEMI with the pickup line, where how kids get picked up. We added a big turn lane around those things in partnership with our city. I know the school would probably like to say, hey, in March there's going to be construction at the corner of Montgomery and Tylersville Road. That's the city's construction, and it will help alleviate traffic. But how can we make safety for our transportation, for our buses, as the footprint has expanded a little bit in distance, be able to continue to provide quality transportation and safe transportation for all of our students?
Thanks, David. Ian?
So I'll quickly touch back on enrollment being flat, but our enrollment mix has changed. There's not the same mix of students that are showing up, and the students that do show up may be English language learners. They may have more difficult behaviors or learning needs. So our ability to resource those students is directly tied to not only state funding but federal funding, and so definitely have to keep an eye on what's happening in those two places. But resources, so finances and human resources, which is our human capital partnerships. We want to make sure that we are connected in our community to help continue to make our schools accessible and appropriately scaled. Both Charles and David touched on our footprint. If you look at other districts in our area, they're trying to do what we've done, right? They're trying to consolidate their footprints because when you have that scale, it's efficient use of capital. So the only thing that we really work to do is make big schools feel small, because connection is what we want to get in these schools.
Thank you. Danny?
So I think we all understand that enrollment has been pretty flat. But to that point, we moved here for the schools. Our intention is to stay for the community. So that is not something that is unique to my family, and that is why while you're seeing apartments go up, we're seeing, enrollment kind of stay flat. I think one of the things that I appreciate so very much is the connection with the community, and I remember specifically talking about this type of an issue at a community coffee with Dr. Cooper and Ms. Carson about what, the Mason-Montgomery widening, and how do we keep the kids safe when they have to cross that street. And we've sat there as a community group with administrators and community members vamping about all kinds of ideas, from a bridge to safety patrol. But I think that shows the willingness to listen to our community, see where the pain points are, and then adjust and adapt in a way that makes sense for everybody.
Excellent. So all four of you will have an additional 30 seconds. I think we've established that enrollment is flat. But if there's anything else you'd like to...
I'd like to return to that.
Yeah, add on, we'll hit it in the same order, Charles.
I think just another example, right, of how the forward thinking is a part of the DNA of the board and of this region is the partnerships that we have with not just our local businesses, but our local governments. So Western Row Elementary, great example. The district recognized that that facility was aging. It wasn't the best use of district resources to try and refurbish it. We were able to transition the students over there, and while it would have been great to continue to have that community school feel, we've been able to maintain that as an educational center with the Warren County ESC. The district is generating revenue as a result of that partnership there, and we don't have to demolish that building and build something new there. So it's a great way to sort of recycle it and keep it going forward into the future.
Thank you. David, anything?
I want to touch on accessible. I've recently been involved in conversations about the outdoor wellness and leadership space, which is the green space, learning space just to the west of MEMI. And we're talking about creating a space where kids can go out and be connected with nature. But it's a part of the DNA as well, that there's going to be a paved path to allow students who may have ambulatory issues to be able to access that, be able to access that space and be able to participate just like the other kids. And I think that's an important part of who we are, and I'm committed to making sure we continue to be accessible for all of our students.
Thanks, David. Ian?
Thinking about the long-term strategic planning, we were able to build dream centers in each one of these buildings. So to tie that to the first question about career readiness and connectedness, when kids graduate from this school, they have a multimedia a room in the Dream Center that rivals some newscasters, local news. And so the experiences that we create here with our efficient use of capital serves our community and our students so very well. So longitudinal planning is really the word we want to use here.
Thank you. Danny?
I think I'm all good. Thanks.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Okay. So question 3, we'll have the following order. We'll start with Danny, and we'll move over to Ian, David, and then Charles. Every candidate brings a unique perspective on what challenges matter most. This question invites you to identify the single most urgent issue facing Mason City schools and explain how you would lead on it. The question being just that: what do you believe is the most pressing issue, and what would you do to resolve it? Danny?
So I think right now the most pressing issue is going to be school funding. And if you were watching and paying attention over the last 6-ish months, you were on the same roller coaster as we were, trying to figure out what money was going to be coming to our district, how we were going to react to that, and trying to stay agile and still plan for a future five-year forecast. Being on that roller coaster is not something that, it's not over now, where there's still bills being passed, there's still legislation happening that could impact us around property tax. So I think the question is, how do we lead through that? I think through good forecasting, paying attention to the experts, talking to Sean, our treasurer, talking to experts in the room that know how this stuff usually goes, and staying connected to our legislature, remaining agile as a district and as a board to be open to new ideas and listen to different ideas as to how we can creatively solve some of these funding issues that might be coming our way, and then working collaboratively, not just with each other, but with our city and the people that will be helping us move forward.
Thank you. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a prognosticator, but I guess everybody's going to say some version of finances, school funding. That is the largest external threat to our district. Our finances, Sean Bevan I'll put him as one of the best treasurers in the state of Ohio. And so what we've done to long-term plan has worked. What we worry about is the state going to do something unexpected? And so leading on that is about relationships, right? Connecting with our state legislators and having a superintendent who is one of the most connected superintendents and respected superintendents in the state, and making sure that his voice is unencumbered by our activities so that we can continue to have our perspective represented in the state. I'll share this anecdote. I was in a finance committee meeting, and our superintendent said, hey, after House Bill 96 got passed, I think I want to email Governor DeWine. What do you think I should do? And I said, absolutely, you need to email him to line item veto some things. And I'm not saying that that's why Governor DeWine did it, but everything he emailed him was on his line item veto list. So that's how you lead on that.
Excellent. David?
Yeah, for sure. Finance from the state is probably the biggest threat. Obviously, it's outside of our control, at least as a school board. And I think the things we can do is plan and prepare. You got to prepare for the worst, plan for the worst. And as a citizen, I advocated. So I called Representative Matthews and called Senator Wilson and said, hey, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. We need consistent, adequate, fair funding for our schools, and that would not change as a board member. I'm still a citizen, and I would still advocate for that, but it is, I think, one of the biggest challenges we will face, that uncertainty and what could happen, and we just need to stay the course and plan.
Thank you. Charles?
So just to be, a contrarian, I think everybody's got the right answer here, but I will add that I think that's something that applies across all districts. So as far as Mason specifically, it's, I don't think, a secret. We have one of the highest paid average salaries for our classroom teachers. And part of that is because we have such veteran teachers. We went through a hiring boom in the early 2000s, and we've already started to see the start of a retirement boom. And so as our teachers progress towards retirement, over the next 5 years, I think I just heard last night that it's 25% of our teachers are going to be eligible for retirement in the next 5 years. we are going to be tasked with replacing that critical part of what makes Mason Schools a destination district, preserving all of the little things and nuances, the ideas, the passion projects, the things that those teachers individually brought to our district, and making sure that those things stay as a legacy regardless of who's here and are able to carry forward into the future.
Thank you. All right, now, as opposed to a rebuttal time, we're mixing it up and doing a follow-up question to that. We're going to separate this out between incumbents and challengers. Starting with the incumbent, we'll do Ian and then Charles. How have you addressed the issue you brought up during your term, and what more needs to be done?
Well, thank you for that follow-up. So being debt-free when we build is one of the biggest things in this term that I've had, first term I've had, but also making sure that our capital when we negotiate is the second, because we've got carryover capital, and that usually gets it's what the negotiation is based off of. And so coming to a contract with our union that reflects what we want for them, and making sure that Mason quality stays here and that they are still in the top tier of Southwest Ohio educators is probably 1B to our financial legacy, because that contract allowed us to long-term plan and take care of those teachers that have contributed so much to the Mason quality that's here.
Thank you. Charles?
Dave, could you repeat that follow-up? I apologize.
No problem at all. So how have you addressed the issue you spoke of during your term, and what more needs to be done?
So I think Ian touched on it a little bit. You know, we are constantly talking about what is going to come from the state in terms of state funding, and balancing it with what we know our community expects is a high standard of educational quality. We know our community supports the work that we do in the district, and so finding a right balance. Been fortunate to be on the board through, I think, 3 collective bargainings now. Proud of the work that our board has done to put our teachers in a place where we are constantly receiving applications and people wanting to work here, and we have teachers that want to stay here and continue to invest in our kids and in our community.
Thank you. All right, to our 2 challengers, why do you believe the issue you spoke about has not been adequately addressed, and what would you bring to the board that would be different? Trying to spice it up here a little bit. All right, you guys get along too well.
Dave?
Or what would you bring to what solution would you bring? Would be a slightly less controversial question.
The solution I would bring is kind of what I said, is it's leaning on those experts. I did not go to school for finance. I've been following along. I went to school for education. I follow along with these laws and these changes in laws. I became the legislative expert at my office. And I've been doing legislative updates because I'm the one that's following along and paying the most attention. So following along, paying attention, talking to our legislators, and then paying attention to our experts in the room. I know Ian's got such a great handle on school finance. I was talking to Sean Bevan and just letting him explain it to me like in layman's terms, and he's so good at that. So that's my solution, is to stay close and listen to experts before I make policy decisions.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, I mean, I would give props to the current board. They've done these things. I've sat and spoken to each of them individually, sat in and listened to board meetings. They're planning, and that's what needs to be done and can be done, right? Reacting, but having plans to react to whatever may or may not happen at the state level. And so props to those 2 gentlemen for being a part of that group that have done that.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to question 4, which is about fiscal responsibility. The order will be Charles, Danny, David, then Ian. Taxpayers and businesses alike want assurance that district funds are used wisely. The board approves the budget and sets financial policy, but it must also evaluate spending effectiveness and communicate those decisions clearly. How would you balance the need for educational investment with fiscal accountability, and what metrics would you use to evaluate spending effectiveness? Starting with Charles.
Well, there are some external metrics that we can point to that I think show that the work that we're doing in Mason is working to deliver high quality education at a great value to our community. I think people are familiar with the Ohio State report card, for instance, and we recently just received 5 out of 5 stars on that. There's also a publication called niche.com that just ranked us for the 2nd year in a row as the #2 district in the state and 47th in the country. So we are seeking, our goal first is to take the resources that our community has entrusted with us and to do the most that we can with them. And I think that we are proving that when we look at how are we stacking up across the state. But when you look at the top 10 districts and go even beyond the top 10 districts in the niche rankings, you'll see, if you look at the Cup-Patterson report that came out the most recent fiscal year of 2024, we are 407th in terms of operating expenditures per pupil. And it's far lower down the list than every other district that's up in the top of those rankings as us. So we are getting the results, but we are doing it at a much lower cost than all of the peers. And that's not just in Southwest Ohio, that's all of the districts throughout Ohio.
Thank you. Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. So I approach this question as a teacher. I begin with the end in mind. So what are we trying to do? And so when we're making these kinds of decisions, thinking about what the goal is it student outcomes? Is it operational efficiency? Making sure we're setting really clear goals that are measurable. And then building those accountability structures at the board level, making sure that the district administration and the district leaders understand how this is being measured, because I think that's fair. One great tangible example of this, had the privilege of working with the Mason Schools Foundation for the last couple of years, working on their grant committee. And the process to get a grant is you give us your idea, you tell us how you're measuring it, and then we measure the process and see how well it worked. And if it was a great grant that was super successful, we get to blow that out into possibly a bigger project district-wide. It's a great training ground for new great ideas. But that same concept applies. So let's think about what's the new thing, what are we trying to accomplish, what is the goal for it, how are we going to hold it accountable, and then making sure that if it works, great, we're continuing, and if it doesn't, we're moving on.
David?
Yeah, obviously those rankings that Charles mentioned, we are rated highly, and we're doing it efficiently. There is one metric I would like to see, and as I approach this, I really thought about metric standpoint, and that is, where do our comments stand 5, 10, 15 years after graduation? So I would love to see, hey, if 86% of our kids are going to higher education, to a higher learning, how many are graduating? How many are going into a career that they chose when they started? How can we measure those things to see, are we not only preparing them academically, because clearly we are we doing it efficiently? Yes, the numbers say, but are we doing it in a way that when they leave, it feels effective for them? We're checking the box, we're doing it with good numbers, but are they going to the place they want to be? My own son, when he graduated, spent some time at school, wasn't his thing. Spent some time in a manufacturing environment, wasn't his thing. And he's now learning how to be a flight mechanic, an FAA airframe and power plant mechanic, and he's found his place. So for me, part of that journey is figuring out, I would love to see that metric as something we can reflect upon.
Thanks, David. Ian?
So you talked about accountability and transparency and how we'll measure it. School boards by design are, I think I had a former board member who said, like, we're the hair on the tick on the tail of the dog. So we have to we're the only governmental authority who doesn't have taxing authority. So everything that we do is sort of transparent and accountable. We are deeply aware that we are deploying your resources that you're entrusting us with to educate students and pay staff and be a very, very good employer, one of the largest employers of the county. I want to give you some quick metrics that you can walk away with. And this is all in the Cup-Patterson report that Charles referenced. We are in the top 16. We spend 61.5, so 62% of our dollars that you entrust us with go into the classroom. If you add pupil support, we are in the top 9% of spenders for that in the classroom. Bottom 2% for administration, we spend 9.5%. Bottom 4% for central office at 2%. and a percent of students to central office. We have, for one student, 688 central office. The state average is 347. We are in the bottom 6%. You have the lowest you have the third lowest effective property tax millage rate in the entire county. That's value. What we deliver here in Warren County, third lowest effective millage in the county.
Thank you. All right, 30 more seconds for each of the candidates to elaborate or rebut. Charles, we'll start with you.
I think just the picture that the finances and all of the external reports and metrics paint is we have been blessed with a series of board members, longtime leaders that have set us up for success, that have created an environment where we are achieving high results academically and all other outcomes you could hope for, while doing it at a cost much less than the other districts in our state and in our region, and we're just happy to carry that torch forward, and that's something that I will continue to do as a board member if reelected.
Thank you. Danny?
I have nothing else to add at this one.
David?
No, thanks.
Ian?
I want to thank former boards. I think you have to sit in this seat to be able to assess the difficult choices that they've made, intentional choices that they've made. And so I know Connie Yingling's retiring after 26 years of board service. I just saw Kevin Wise walk out. Those are two people who absolutely poured into me and made sure that I would be successful as a board member. So without that through line, without that legacy, and I'm sure they did that for Charles and others, but without that through line, we would not be here. So I do want to thank them for that.
All right, thanks, Ian. Okay, fifth and final question. The order of response will start with David, move to Ian, Danny, then Charles. Student safety and health. Both physical and mental are top priorities for families and educators. While the board does not manage day-to-day operations or deliver services directly, it plays a critical role in setting policies that shape the district's approach to well-being, emergency preparedness, and inclusive environments. What do you believe is the board's role in ensuring the safety and health of students, and what policies would you support to fulfill that responsibility? David?
One of the things that I think is, from a policy standpoint, would be the expansion of intramural sports and clubs down all the way into our earliest grades. Study after study shows that kids who are connected, that kids who participate in a club, kids who participate in a sport, they have better mental health. They feel more connected to their peers. They have more opportunities to be connected to an adult. It's one of the things, one of the metrics that the district studies. Do you feel connected to an adult? Connection matters. It's one of my core values, being connected to my family, being connected to my community. So our kids having that opportunity to be connected to their classmates, whether it's working on the chess club, playing intramural soccer, being involved in an art activity, the band, all of the extracurriculars, seeing those and elevating those, encouraging all of our students to be connected in those, I think will pay dividends for our kids' mental health, creates a safer environment. We can talk all we want about the physical safety and hardening of our schools, putting in those policies and procedures, but it starts when our kids feel safe and they feel connected in our buildings.
Ian?
Yeah, I agree, David. We do need to build connection, and safety and inclusion and mental health mean different things to different people. But I think I definitely want to shout out Dr. Cooper, who showed up with his big rocks. And one of his big rocks is culture, because culture work is people work, and we're in the people business in schools. And so what we have to continue to do is, Baker Mayfield got upset at us because we ended valedictorian and salutatorian, but we made those hard changes because we knew that's what our students needed. And so continuing to be transparent in our example and saying, hey, there's more important things than being first in your class, being connected, playing a sport, finding who and what you are, steadfast in our accountability, holding the line to say what's above the line and below the line, showing students that we will hold them accountable, showing staff that we will hold them accountable and holding ourselves accountable, but also broaden our investment. So partnerships with Children's, partnerships with the Lender Center, partnerships with as many mental health professionals as we can, and then hiring the best counseling staff that we can get is all things that we need to continue to do to make sure that we're making sure our students are safe, included, and have a shot at getting some good healthcare, mental health care.
Thank you. Danny?
Yeah, we know that students are learning better when they feel seen, when they feel safe. It is front of mind, safety for sure, and front of mind on families' minds, on student minds when they're coming to school, wanting to feel like they are safe in the buildings that they attend, safe on the buses that they're riding. So we do a lot of great work here. Mental health has been a focus. We've got lots of supports, and Ian just outlined quite a few of them. There's dogs in every building. And I think that's so important. It's a visible reminder of the value that our district places on mental wellness for our students. So listening to parents, listening to families, listening to students, we have these structures in place, making sure that we're listening to how they're working. So assessing the survey data, making sure that the things we think are gonna work are actually being successful. And then supporting policies that would increase early detection of issues, and then providing those supports right underneath. And finally, making sure our teachers and our staff, and I will expand that out to all staff because not every kid connects necessarily with a teacher, but those staff members in the offices also are super important. But making sure those folks want to stay, because those long-lasting connections are the ones where the kids really feel like they are part of that school family.
Charles?
Well, I'll be contrarian again since everybody's taken the health and well-being answers. And I will pivot a little bit to the hardening topic. One of the first months I was on the board in 2018, there was a highly publicized school shooting in Parkland, Florida. And I remember that was one of the most, heaviest work sessions that I got to be a part of, talking about, hey, what are we doing here when something like that happens? And it was very reassuring to hear from the experts and hear from the team that we have leading our district about all of the things that you see and the things that you feel, and maybe sometimes feel inconvenient, trying to scan into buildings, having people, at all of our entrances, things like that. But it also is thanks to partnerships, things that go back to 2017, partnership with our city, creating a new district that our city's police force considers as part of their beat. At peak time, that's the most populated part of our city, this little campus here that we have in Mason, and the municipal building and all of that. And the relationships that our student resource officers in every building that we have. Right. There are not a lot of school districts in Ohio that can say every building they have is a dedicated police officer, student resource officer, and we are one that does. And they are not just folks that don't have the skills or unique training to work with kids. Ours do, and they are excellent at their jobs.
Thanks, Charles. As a follow-up, this to the challengers, starting with David. Do you see any significant gaps in the district's current approach to student safety or health? And if so, what new policies would you advocate for as a board member?
So I've served on the district safety committee for the past several years, and I feel very comfortable with the procedures and the policies have in place. I do think there are technologies that the district could invest in that could close some gaps, and I'm not going to name what those are, but I think there are ways that artificial intelligence can help identify threats from a more early standpoint. And just another practical one, our bus drivers go around with paper maps. And this is a different safety issue, but having turn-by-turn navigation in our buses, so our bus drivers don't have to be fiddling with papers and instead can focus on their route, get there more efficiently, and be safer when they're transporting our kids. So I think simple investments like that as well benefit our students and create a safer environment on our roads as well.
Thank you. Danny?
I think by design, I don't know all the ins and outs of our safety plans. That's the dream, right? We don't want everyone to know all the details. So I can't say with full certainty that we are or are not doing everything we can. Certainly, to Dave's point, there are technologies out there that can always support. That is something we have to be aware of constantly as things evolve and change. Technology is going to change. We need to be aware of how that can support the safety of our students. But the reality is the safety plans that are in place at this district are intentionally shared only on a need-to-know basis because we don't need bad actors to understand that information. So I would say I'm sure there's gaps, but I think the main point is staying aware of the new technologies and seeing how it fits in the culture of our buildings.
Thanks, Danny. Now to our incumbent, starting with Ian. What safety or health-related policies have you supported specifically during your term, and how have they impacted the students and staff?
I think more than a policy, it's probably a mindset, right? So there's not been a year, there's not been a quarter where we haven't discussed some aspect of safety. We're discussing it currently, right? And trying to integrate new technologies so that we can make sure that should the worst thing ever happen in this district, we're ready. And it's a constant state of readiness and awareness and knowing what our weak points had been and shoring those up, but then making sure you have the resources, the capital there to take advantage of the opportunities and partnerships, like having the police just, not even a mile that way, and partnering with them. So making sure that we have the resources, but also having a readiness mindset and always testing our safety plans.
Charles?
Yeah, so briefly, I think I touched on it earlier, but we've had the opportunity to revisit and reinvest in the partnership we have with the city. The district, I think it's $650,000 annually we invest in making sure that we have armed and trained student resource officers in each of our buildings. And it has been a great thing, I think, for our kids because if you were at our most recent or one of our last board meetings, we had a wayfinding moment that talked about the relationship developed between one of our, I think it was a preschooler or a kindergartner, who developed this relationship with one of our student resource officers and has, so far said she wants to be a police officer when she grows up. So we'll see what the chalkboard says on the first day of school next year, but it's a great thing. So.
Outstanding. Okay, so we're going to move on to closing statements. All right, you each have 60 seconds to share your final thoughts. We'll move in reverse alphabetical order by last name. So we'll start with Danny, then move to Ian, Charles, and David. Danny?
Thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you for sitting through all these comments. I got into this race in 2023 when I ran the first time because I was passionate about this district and I deeply care about the work that's being done here. I am an educator of 24 years and I just want to lend that voice to our school board. In 2023, I lost this race by 41 votes. And I had a choice at that point, whether I decide to keep going and try again or just call it quits. And what I decided by January of that next year was I'm going to dig in and keep going. So I kept showing up at board meetings. I kept showing up at community coffees. I doubled down. I joined school board school to learn about policy making and governance. I joined the Mason Schools Foundation as a board member, and I continued doing the work. I've now become a resource for all of my friends when they can't find their schedules. They come straight to me because they know I know either who to ask or where to look. And I do it because I love it. So I would be honored to have your vote. I would love it if you have questions if you would reach out to me. And thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thanks, Danny. Ian?
Yeah, thank you all again. I would love to see this many faces staring back at us in a regular session. So, every third Tuesday night, it's just a plug, come check us out. We're here in the Harvard room. But no, it's been an honor of a lifetime to serve this community in this way, to have my peers respect and allowing me to sit in the middle seat. It has been truly amazing and eye-opening. We will face challenges. That is just the nature of what we do. I am confident that with my professional experience in risk mitigation, risk management, and learning from those who came before me, that we can continue to deliver high quality at great value, and that is really what I'm passionate about, is making sure that we leave this district better for our leadership and governance than we found it. And if we can do that, that's a success, and that's an awesome thing to be able to give back to your community, because this is the thing that touches every part of this community. It's what our home values are based off of. It's even if you never had a kid in this school district, it is something. I just met a guy this past weekend who literally uprooted his child in the middle of the school year from Sycamore to Mason because he kept reading about Mason, and he said, I want that for my child, and that just made me smile from ear to ear. So as long as we can keep moving that work forward, it's just exactly what I want to do. So thank you for allowing me to serve, and hope to earn your vote.
Charles?
So I mentioned early on that I grew up in this area, and fortunately was able to move here once I started being an adult and living, in a real world. Professionally, I'm an attorney. I'm a partner in charge of Westchester office for a law firm called Frost Brown Todd. We're one of the largest law firms in the region, and I'm a part of that firm's government services practice group, where we serve as law director for a number of communities in the area, school districts, cities, townships, and I get the privilege to work with the decision makers who get to shape those communities respectively. And so it's a tremendous honor, but I also view it as a resource for our school district, that I'm able to bring what I learned professionally here to the district and apply that as a board member. My wife, Natalie, was an educator herself. She taught for 15 years before she pivoted, and is now an adjunct professor at a nearby university. She evaluates student teachers, and fortunately for me, she has the time to educate our kids at home when I'm not able to be there. We've got a 4th grader and a kindergartner and a eventual class of 2040 comment. So I've been here for a while, and I hope to be here for the long run. We'll have kids in the MECC, ME, MI, and MMS buildings over the course of the next 4 years. So hopefully I can earn your vote on November 4th.
David?
Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. My decision to run and wanting to do this is rooted in one of my core values, and that is to serve. It's why I co-chaired the Levy campaign in 2020. It's why I've served on the district's DEI committee, the safety committee, the business committee, participated in the Journey to 2030. It's why my wife and I continue to live here. It's why our kids have grown up and are K through 12 Comets. I'm committed to this community. I've served the community as a commander in our American Legion post, and it would be an honor to serve here and serve our teachers, our staff, our community, the 70% of you who don't have kids in the district, to hear your input and listen. And I really appreciate it. And I'm really grateful I got to stay for the whole thing. But as soon as I'm done, I'm out the door because Mr. Brown's waiting to take me. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, that closes us out. A few thank yous to finish us out here. First of all, thanks to our candidates who participated. You guys gave thoughtful responses, and just the opportunity for our community to get an idea of not only what you stand for, but to get to know you a little bit, how you will lead. It just helps us so much come November 4th when we have a big decision to make. I think in Mason, we are blessed in so many ways. You just have to drive around the city to see it. But what's in front of me today is by far our biggest blessing, and that's our people. We have so much talent in this city, and the fact that our talent then turns around and wants to serve our community, to elevate it, elevate our students, and by elevating our students, elevate every business and community operation we have. It's just so special. And so thank you for your time. Thank you for donating your talents to our schools. Thank you for everybody being here. Thanks for engaging. Thank you to our viewers, either live or recorded, for participating tonight. We want to thank again the Mason City Schools and ICRC-TV. And last but not least, thanks to our chamber staff who put this together. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of time, and patience to make this come off like it does, and very grateful for that. And finally, thanks for putting up with me. I know I'm no Mike Dardis, but
You did great.
you know,
It was great.
he's here for the big one. So, thank you.